Dre all day.
Dre Baldwin with DreAllDay.com. Let's talk quickly, or maybe not so quickly, about Juwan Howard, coach of Michigan Wolverines, former NBA player. Got suspended recently for swinging and hitting an assistant on the opposite team after his team lost the game. And he got suspended for the rest of the regular season, which is about 5 games. And the whole conversation has been, is this a fair suspension? Should he have been fired, or did they do too much? You know, what do people think about this situation? So here's, first of all, just a quick background on it for those who don't know what happened. Michigan is a team Juwan coaches. Used to play at Michigan. He was part of the Fab Five back in the day. Some of y'all probably wasn't even alive. He played in the NBA for a long time. I actually played some pickup with Juwan Howard, actually. I think it was right before his career ended down here in Miami. He became the coach of Michigan, which is a big deal for him because he used to go there. And Michigan has been, I think he's been there maybe 2 or 3 years, however long he's been there, doesn't matter. But they're playing Wisconsin on the road, and they're losing the game. They're down by like 15. So the Wisconsin coach puts his bench guys in the game, you know, guys that don't normally get in the game, the walk-ons and stuff like that. They're in the game, you know, and the walk-ons get in at the end of a blowout, and they try to score so they can get their one time scoring a point all season. Juwan Howard's defense, he says that he has his players compete until the final buzzer. So he has some of his better players still in the game, and they're in there like on a full court man-to-man defense on the backups from the Wisconsin team. So the Wisconsin guys couldn't really get the ball over half court. So they're about to get a 10-second violation. The Wisconsin coach calls timeout, because in college you call timeout while the ball's still in the back court. You get another 10 seconds to get the ball inbounds. So that's why the coach called the timeout. Now, Juwan Howard, though, he didn't take it for that reason. He took it as, oh, you're trying to show me up. You're calling timeout to give yourself more time to try to score on us when the outcome is already decided. Well, that doesn't quite make sense, Juwan Howard, because if the outcome's already decided and that coach shouldn't be calling timeout, then why do you have your guys playing full court defense? So which one is it? So that's what his reasoning was. He didn't like the fact, and I've seen this happen in coaching before. As a matter of fact, when I was in college, there was a game when my team was losing. I was playing. My team was losing, and the other team's coach called a timeout like late in the game. We were down by like 15, 20, something like this. And he called timeout with like less than a minute to go. And our coach got annoyed with him, and he was like giving him dirty looks and like walking towards him. He didn't do anything, but really giving that other coach dirty looks like, dude, what are you doing? Like, are you trying to show me up because your team's already winning? So this happens in college basketball. It's part of the decorum that your team's up, or even in pro basketball. It's part of the decorum that your team's up. You don't call timeouts and try to prolong the inevitable. You already won. Don't do that. So I guess Juwan Howard took it as his coach was trying to show him up, even though his players are playing full court defense. So how is he going to be mad? But anyway, the game ends. The coach from Wisconsin, they're in a handshake line, which they do in college basketball. And Juwan Howard was about to walk past. First, he didn't even get in the line, because usually the head coach is the first guy. He didn't even get in the line. Then when he's finally gets in the line, he's about to just walk past the other team's head coach. And when he's about to ignore him, the other coach, you know, touches him on the elbow like this, like, yo, and like starts to say something to him. And Juwan Howard was already mad at the dude. We already knew this because he wasn't talking to him. Then he finally starts talking to him. He has a mask on. He pulls his mask down. He has his finger in his face talking to him like this, and he's talking shit. And you know, Juwan Howard's like 6'10". Dude's like 5'9". So he's looking down on him. He's pointing his finger at him. And he's saying whatever he's saying. And they go there. The dude is saying to him like, what are you saying? I don't know what he said. But Juwan is obviously upset. This is clear. Now finally, everybody's kind of gathered in one spot now, because you got, excuse me, the two head coaches arguing with each other. And now one of the assistant coaches over there, and who knows what he said. Juwan Howard, for whatever reason, turns his attention to the assistant coach from Wisconsin and swings his hand at the dude, hits the dude upside his head. White guy, hits the guy upside his head. And then there's this whole fracas that breaks out. A couple of the Michigan players are throwing punches, the Wisconsin players throwing punches. They finally break everybody up, and then everybody goes away. After the game, Juwan Howard in the post-game press conference says, well, the guy shouldn't put his hands on me, so I felt the need to defend myself. Really? All right, we're going to get to that in a second. And then, because he hit this guy on the head, now this whole conversation is going for like a day and a half. What's going to happen to Juwan Howard? Is he going to get fired? Should he be fired? Or is he and then of course, I'm on Twitter reading about this. So of course you got all the journalists on Twitter, all the woke side of people. They're all right, well, Juwan Howard's a real one. You put your hands on somebody, you're gonna find out. Juwan Howard's from the hood, Juwan Howard's from the streets. He's showing y'all what it is. You know, people who ain't never even been in the streets talking about that street because he hit some assistant coach upside his head in the handshake line. Okay, fine. We're going to get to that in a minute. So then we finally find out what ends up happening. It only took like a day or so for it to happen. The suspension gets handed out. Juwan gets suspended for 5 games, which is the rest of the regular season for Michigan. His assistant coaches will handle it, and then I guess he can come back for the postseason if Michigan makes the postseason. I think they're going to be in the Big Ten tournament, but if they're still in the Big Ten, I don't even know what conference they're in. I think it's the Big Ten. Doesn't matter. And if they make the NCAAs, then I guess he can coach there. So this whole conversation around a few things. First of all, Juwan Howard, when it comes to the handshake line, your team lost the game. I played a lot of sports. I've been in games where I was on the winning side and also on the losing side. And I know that it can be frustrating to be on the losing side of a game, especially, and I've never been a coach. I know it can be frustrating to be on the losing side when you can't even play. You can't even do anything. All you can do is tell the players what to do, and either they execute or they don't. So I get Juwan Howard was maybe a little bit annoyed with the fact that he lost, period, and then he used the timeout as a pretext to let his frustrations out on this other coach. And who knows what else is going on in his mind in this situation. However, the reason why this one right here, fair or foul for Juwan Howard himself for doing what he did, this is absolutely out of line by Juwan Howard. Why is he out of line for this? Number one, you lose a game, you shake hands like a man and you swallow the loss. You take that L, your team is already down 15. Whether that coach called timeout or not, even if you think he was wrong for calling a timeout, you get your revenge in the next game, and if your team's up 15, then maybe you do it back to him. That'd be kind of petty, but if that's what you want to do, then you do that. But pointing your finger in his face and yelling at him, that ain't really going to do anything. I mean, you still lost the game. Now you just look like a sore loser, and the fact that you're 6'10" and a former NBA player is going to stand out. Everybody's going to see it. So he didn't do himself any favors by even being mad about it, whether he put his hands on the guy or not. Whether Juwan put his hands on that assistant coach or not, just by getting mad and pointing his finger at dude, I probably never would have even known about it if he hadn't hit the dude. But just by doing that, he made himself look bad. Made himself look like a sore loser. So that was a bad look, first of all. Second of all, your team's losing again. You get your revenge later on in the situation. Third, you're the head coach. You played in the league. You're coaching at a D1 high major school. I bet every player on Juwan Howard's roster thinks or hopes that they could play in the league, in the NBA, or worst case, play overseas. Maybe he got 1 or 2 guys who's like, I'm just going to play college basketball, then when it's over, I'll move on and do something with the rest of my life. Everybody else in that roster wants to play in the league. So they're looking at you, former NBA player, all-star. You had a contract for a lot of money. You won championships in the league, so he wasn't no bum in the league. Juwan Howard was a solid player in the league. They're looking at you as an example. You just lost the game. And now, when you're mad, arguing in the post-game handshake line, you hit an assistant coach upside his head. And the guy that he hit wasn't even the dude who grabbed his elbow. The head coach grabbed his elbow, but not in an aggressive way. He just touched him like, yo, let me holler at you. Let me talk to you, so because I see that you're upset. He didn't grab him in an aggressive way like he wanted to fight. So Juwan Howard using that pretext of, or that excuse of, well, I needed to defend myself. Like, stop it, dude. Like, you're not in the streets. You're not in the hood. And he knows better than this. He was in the league for 15 years. You've been a head coach for whatever number of years. He knows that you don't do that in the areas where he's working. He's been in these areas for long enough to know you don't get away with that. When he was playing at Michigan, which was like, I was a kid. So he was playing at Michigan when I wasn't even in middle school. This dude has been in these arenas for like 30 years. So there's no way that he doesn't know this. That was a bullshit excuse that he used to get away with. And we're going to come back to that in 1 second. But you're trying to set an example for your players. You're a head coach at a D1. Your players can't be looking at you like, oh, so if I don't like something somebody says to me, I can swing at them and hit them because, well, the coach did it. He played in the league. He did it. He's got a head coaching gig at a major D1. He did it, so I guess I can get away with it. So it's a poor example that he's setting for his players. Now, understand, Juwan Howard's a little bit older than me. It's probably a generation or two older than me. But the era that we come from, even the era that I'm from, and I think my era was the last one, is the era where we did handle things like that. You didn't like something somebody said, even if they just said something, you put your hands on them, we handle it that way, and there wouldn't be any official involvement. There's no cops, there's no security, there's no telling on it. Whatever happens, happens. We handle it with our hands, and when it's over, it's over. If we got to fight again the next week, we fight again next week. My era was the last era where that was kind of acceptable. This era, where these kids are coming up in, that doesn't happen anymore. Why? Because everything's on camera. Most of these kids come up working out in gyms. They're not working out in outdoor playgrounds. They're not in the quote unquote the streets, and they don't handle things hand in hand like that. Everything is everything is passive aggressive. You do it through your captions and your social media and talking shit to people through the internet. You don't really have to see somebody face to face to have a conflict with them. Whereas in my era, if you had a conflict with somebody, you had to wait till you saw them and then you had to do something. And Juwan Howard is older than me, so I know his era was like that. So I know he knows this era, but he's been away from it for so long that he knows better. He ain't do it in the league. He ain't do it at Michigan. He hasn't done it since he's been coaching, so how is that his excuse now? Makes no sense whatsoever. And he knew it didn't make any sense when he said it. And here's the reason why he was able to say that and why people on Twitter, again, the woke journalists who feel like they got it, anytime it's a black versus white, they got to defend the black person and be sarcastic about it, is this. If Juwan Howard was white, and this is something that I heard many people say, and many of you probably thinking about it, many of you have already had opinions on it, but we all know the facts. Let me not say the facts. We know the facts of what happened. We all know the truth is a better way of calling it, the more accurate way of saying this. If Juwan Howard was a white man, and he hit a black coach upside his head after a game because he, the white man, was afraid that he lost to the black man in a game, you tell me what we'd be talking about right now. Let me not even offer my opinion yet. You tell me what will we be talking about right now if a white man hit a black man upside his head after he lost a game to the black man's team, and they're both the coaches. First of all, that white man would have been fired before he left the building. Second of all, the entire internet would have blown up and exploded talking about this white on black attack. Third of all, everybody on ESPN, they would have activated their whole roster. All right, they would have took dudes who don't even talk about college basketball. They would have got Stephen A. Smith. They would have got fucking football players. Who's the dude who cried on TV? There's a few of them. They would have got Randy Moss. They would have got Ryan Clark. They would have got Kirk Herbstreit, who's white. They would have got all the crying guys off the football show to talk about this shit. How we still need to work on change. America still hasn't gotten better yet. Things need to improve. I come from an environment where if a white person didn't like a black person, they get lynched and hung, and this is just the gateway drug to it. A white guy feel like he can just hit a black guy in public in an arena for 20,000 people. He's supposed to be a role model and example for these young kids, and look what he's doing when he loses to a black man. This says something about white people in America. Y'all know this would have happened. All right, let's not bullshit. Even if you agree with what Juwan Howard did, even if you thought it was funny, even if you think he was right for swinging on dude because maybe dude said something Juwan Howard didn't like, even if you agree with all of that, you tell me that you agree, that you think if a white dude had hit Juwan Howard, and let's say Juwan Howard didn't hit the dude back, maybe he would, but let's just say any white coach hits any black coach in that same situation, just switch the races, what would have happened? We all know what would have happened. Dude would have got fired, definitely. He'd have been canceled. He would never get another job in coaching. His whole life would be pretty much fucked up. He'd have been completely canceled and everything. His wife, his kids, anyone related to him would have been canceled. His team's season might have got canceled if a white coach would have hit a black dude upside his head. ESPN would have activated their whole staff to talk about it. There'd be every woke journalist in America would have wrote a story about it, even those who don't pay any attention to sports. This would have been a huge story. This would have been like George Floyd Part 2, if a white dude had hit a black dude after a game in the same situation with what Juwan Howard did. However, with all this said, I'm not saying this as if I'm crying foul. All right? I'm not saying that this is necessarily some horrible, tragic thing that is what would have happened to a white guy, because that's not what happened. What happened was a black guy hit a white guy. And because Juwan Howard is black, and again, being 6'10", and the dude that he hit is what, maybe 6 feet, and wasn't even trying to do anything aggressive, he got off with a 5-game suspension. I think given the circumstances, the suspension was fine. I figured he needed a few game suspension and a fine, and that's pretty much it. I said that on Twitter the day that it happened, before they even handed out the suspensions. I think that's pretty fair. Now, but again, on the other side of the situation, had that flipped, the outcome would have been completely different. But you know what, everybody? This is the game that we're in. This is the world that we live in right now, where there is a completely different set of rules for the exact same action between two different people, given the climate that we have allowed to be cultivated and created in the world that we live in right now. This is just what it is. I'm not saying it like it's a good thing. I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just a thing. This is just what it is. So, and this is the bigger picture of all of this, what we're talking about here, and what really makes this whole situation more fucked up is the journalists. These are the people who are supposed to, allegedly, ostensibly, their job is to look at situations that happen, look at the facts of a situation, and their job is to do what I'm doing with y'all right now, is to look at the situation and dig into it and ask ourselves the critical questions. Why did this happen? What really is going on? What are people not noticing? What are some things that you should think about that if you just looked at the headline, you might not even be thinking about? That's the job of a journalist. That is what a journalist's job is to dig into a situation and find out what are some things that the average observer would not notice about this thing and present them to the world, because they're supposed to kind of do the thinking they're supposed to do the thinking in the place of the casual person who might not be thinking so deeply about the situation. Unfortunately, and this is why I did an episode on my podcast called Why Journalism is Dying. Journalists don't do their job anymore. Nowadays, every journalist, and I'm talking on both sides of this conversation, have picked a side. So when this first came out, I seen a bunch of journalists who are on one side saying, well, Juwan Howard's a real one. Or Juwan Howard's from the hood. You put your hands on somebody from the hood, you're going to find out. Or Juwan Howard showed them what was up. Juwan Howard did this. Juwan Howard did that. Basically trying to sound like they know anything about being in the streets or being in the hood. Well, most of these mofos are from the suburbs and couldn't find their way to the hood with fucking Google Maps. You had one side of people saying that. Then you had the other side of people saying, well, Juwan Howard should be fired. Juwan Howard, that's completely unacceptable. Juwan Howard should be out of here immediately. He doesn't deserve to have his job. He's not upholding the standards. And they just immediately went to that. A true journalist, and I'm not even saying either one of these sides is right or wrong. I'm disappointed in both sides. Because a true journalist is supposed to look at the situation, take a little bit of time to think about what they saw, what happened, and the facts of the situation, and then come out with a thoughtful analysis of what occurred, why it occurred, weighing both sides of the situation, not only what they immediately thought, but also when they got time to think about it, all the outcomes that happened from it, and looking at the situation in a more holistic way, and then giving you a measured, thoughtful analysis of the situation and what they think about it. Maybe what they think about it, maybe not. Maybe they just present it and let you think about it. That's what a good journalist does. Unfortunately, we don't have too many of those people anymore. Nowadays, everybody is rushing to pick a side, to be on one side of the conversation or another side, because so many of these journalists are so focused on Twitter, where it's all about immediacy and who's the first person with a reaction to something, or who has the best one-liner, or who come up with the snarkiest or the funniest statement about something that happens. Nowadays, they're not even taking time to think. They're not taking time to analyze. They're not putting any real time into their writing or even their content that they put out. It's just about who's fastest and who can say something immediately so they can, I guess that matters to their bosses. Who knows? I've never worked in a newsroom, but I guess this is what it is. So now we're not even getting quality journalism anymore. So now we got to do extra work to get the information, to really get real observations about what's going on in situations. And this is not just in sports, because this situation is, in the big picture, is this really a big deal? Some coach swung at another dude, hit dude up on the side of the head. Dude's not injured, nothing happened. Is this really a big deal? In the big picture, no, it's not. But I want y'all to understand something. This is just a microcosm of what's really going on, because when that situation with the kid Rittenhouse in Wisconsin, that was a real situation where the journalists did the exact same thing. Everybody rushed to pick a side. Nobody really took time to think about it. And everybody's on one side or other. Nobody's just trying to be objective and being truthful. And it's the same thing that happened in the George Floyd situation. Same thing that happened with the presidential election. Same thing that happened with Canada with the truckers, is that the journalists are just jumping to a conclusion instead of, not all of them, and let me not say all journalists, but many journalists who we used to be able to rely on for measured information and measured observation. They're not doing this anymore. Everybody's trying to jump to a conclusion and be fast and be quick just so they can put something out. And this is the problem for all of us as consumers, because I don't consider myself, that's not my full-time job to be a journalist, but I do consider myself someone who can look at things objectively, and I can look at both sides of a situation. I can say, I can see how you could be on this side, I can see how you could be on that side, and here's how I feel about it, and here's why. I do consider myself to be able to do that, whatever title you want to give that. But unfortunately, so many people are rushing to pick a side because it's expedient for them. It'll help them make more money, especially those who take a paycheck from somebody. You take a paycheck from the New York Times or from CNN or from ESPN, you don't have a choice as to which side you got to be on. Now, you're on the wrong side working at ESPN, you won't be working at ESPN anymore. You're on the wrong side working at the New York Times or working at Fox or working at whatever other outlet there is out there, and you have the wrong opinion that's going in the wrong direction from where that outlet leans, you won't be working there anymore. And everybody knows this. We all know this. It's kind of been like that for a while, but it's become more and more polarized over the years. And this is really not really about Juwan Howard or college basketball or any of that shit. It's really about all of us as consumers. We got to be a lot more vigilant, and we got to do a lot more work and a lot more digging just to get information these days and to figure out what's really going on, because the people we used to be able to trust for this, they're no longer trustworthy. We can't listen to them anymore. We can't look at somebody who works just because they work at CNN or New York Times or Fox or MSNBC, or because they wrote a book, or because they got a bunch of followers. We can listen to what they say and know we're going to get some objective, measured truth. That no longer exists. That's completely dead and over. It's finished. RIP. Simply because everybody's got to jump and take a side. So when it comes to the Juwan Howard situation, I think overall the punishment that he got is pretty fair given the circumstances. Now again, had this been a white coach hitting a black guy, this would have been a whole different story. But the good thing is the black guy hit the white coach first. So if a white coach hits a black guy upside the head next week, then we already got a precedent to measure this against. So this is actually good for any white coach who wants to hit a black guy upside the head, because now we got a precedent of Juwan Howard doing it first. So if you wanted to look at the bright side from that, now we got it. So with all that said, two things I'm gonna tell you to do. Number one, get my daily motivation text straight to your phone free of charge. Hit me at the following number, 305-384-6894. That text is free every single day, guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. And number two, I got a mastermind group. It's called the Bulletproof Mastermind. For those of you who want to go to the next level with me, I know a lot of you like watching these videos, or you listen to my podcast, stuff like that, the videos we put up here. But the next level is to work with me directly, where I do a live training every single week, and I give you access to all my self-training material, which is over $100,000 worth of value. And three things we're going to do in that mastermind. Number one, I take complex concepts and I make them very simple, kind of like what I did in this video. I think I did that. Number two, no fluff, no BS, no bullshit. We get straight to the point, and I'll only ask you for 2 hours a week on a live call. We get through everything we got to get through, and then I'll let you go back to hand on your business, because that's the reason that we're doing this. So you can do your business. Then we come back next weekend. We usually do it on Saturdays, and we do the exact same thing. And number three, what I do in that mastermind is for people who want to get the personal growth and the business growth at the same time. So this is not just all about business. It's not just all about personal development. The topics that I talk about will be a combination of both your personal growth and your business growth, all at the same time in one space. So that's what we do there in the Bulletproof Mastermind. You can join that by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is also down below. That's workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.